Why are you laughing, Miss?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Miss?
I'm good too. Okay, so until others come, why don't you start copying this?
Can.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, you can see.
Right. Have you started on your assignment?
I didn't start HR, Miss. I'm still doing CP and PST.
Okay, so when will you start?
I'm going to finish those two. After that, I will start HR.
Oh, okay, fine.
But HR assignment is not hard, no, Miss. It's little easy.
Uh-huh. So HRM is easy. Good.
Hello, Miss.
Hello, yes, Dilan.
இன்னும் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வரலையா? அப்ப பரிமளா வந்தாங்க போயிட்டாங்களா?
I think Parimala came and she just left. So I think it's a connection problem. So I'm waiting her to join back. Matta yarum unnum vandilla. So I'll stay for another 5 to 10 minutes and then start. Okay?
Okay, Miss. Okay.
Okay. Parimala, what happened on your end?
That's all, man. I don't know, some problem in internet.
Okay, fine.
I checked now. Just
Okay.
Good afternoon, Miss.
Good afternoon. Who is that?
Prashant.
Ah, okay. Can you start copying this to
Okay, Miss.
once you are done, just let me know, okay?
Good afternoon, Miss.
Good afternoon, Lakshani. Why late?
Miss, data is finished, Miss. Photo related.
Okay, fine. Start copying this. Parmala and Prashant, right? So let me know once you all are done.
I done, miss.
Okay, fine. Parmala, Parmala, are we done? Okay, let me start. Okay, we are now talking about employment legislations. Okay, this is exactly what I was asking you all to do, but nobody did it, right? So let me explain it to you all. This is an important part in your assignment. You all have to talk about legislations. Legislations. What's the meaning of legislations?
Laws.
Sorry?
Laws.
Laws. Yeah. So there are a few laws that you have to follow when you are going to take an employee into an organization. Okay. So you all can't there are few laws. Okay, so everybody is abided by law. You all can't do anything the way you want, so there are a lot of legal framework. Okay, whatever you do, you have to follow law. Give me a minute. I think Parimala is got connected twice. Fine, we'll wait. Mm. so so just like that, when you recruit and select an employee, what is recruitment and selection, by the way?
Attracting.
What is recruitment is about attracting the employees, and selection is about selecting the potential candidate for that particular job. So when you do this recruitment and selection, there can be a lot of things that can be happening. Okay, you can select a person who you like. Okay, unfair selection. Okay, just because you like someone, you might select, although he has no talent at all. So to protect the employees from all these kind of troubles, we have something called this employment legislation. Okay, there are few laws that the employer has to follow. The employer and the employee both has to follow. In case you feel the employer, who is an employer?
Employer
Parimal,
who giving the work,
Your
that's his
voice is
employer.
getting stuck.
Parimala, are you there? Parimala, can she hear us? Parimala. Okay, so let us continue. So basically, employer is a person who gives the job, and employee is a person who does it, right? So what
Hmm.
happens is both of these people are protected by law. Okay, in case we'll say you feel the employer is treating you unfairly, what you can do is you can go and file a case against the employer. So the place where all these stuffs happen is called the Labor Tribunals Council. Okay, so if you feel that you're not being treated fairly, or there's something wrong in the organization, they're not treating you properly, so you can go and make your complaints in this Labor Tribunals Council. So Labor Tribunals Council is there to protect the employees, okay, and the employer. Okay, in both cases. So these are the laws. Now we'll see what these laws are. Labor tribunals will study we'll come to that. So before that, we'll study the laws. Okay, so the first law that we're going to talk for the day is the Sex Discrimination Act 1975. Okay, so this act made it unlawful for an individual to be discriminated against in the workplace in relation to the selection for a job, training, promotion, work practices, dismissal, or any other disadvantage such as sexual harassments because of their sex or marital status. Right. So what happens is, under the Sex Discrimination Act, no matter if you are a boy or a girl, or no matter if you are a transgender or whatever it is, people can't discriminate you. People can't treat you differently. Okay. Just because Prashant is a boy and Dulakshani is a girl, I can't. Although you have the same talent, you'll have the same profile. Okay, like the same strength, same weaknesses, same experience, same education, everything is same, and you're applying to the same post. Okay, you're both applying as a manager. But since Prashant is a boy, I can't pay him 60,000, and just because Dulakshani is a girl, I can't pay her 40,000. Okay, so if I do that, then Dulakshani can go and file a case against me under the Employment Tribunals Council. Clear? And also it's like this, I can't say, okay, just because someone is, again Parimala is gone. Right. So just because Dulakshani or somebody is married, I can't say that I'm not going to take you to my organization. So you can't discriminate. What is discrimination? What is discrimination? Discrimination is treating the other person unfairly. Not unfairly, okay? Not treating them equally. That is called discrimination. So I think Primala is getting connected again. Okay. So let her deal with it. So I can't treat them badly just because of their sex. Okay, just because because she's a girl or a boy, because just because she's single. Yes, Parimala. What's wrong at your end? Hello. Hello. Prashant,
Yes, miss.
are you there? Dulakshani? Dulakshani? Parmala?
Miss Parimala's gone, miss. Some there, I think some data problem.
Problem. Okay, so Dulakshani also, I think, some problem. We'll wait and see. Okay, so that is the Sex Discrimination Act. You can't treat anybody unfairly because of their sex, or just because they're married or single, right? So that is the Sex Discrimination Act. So the next act is called the Race Relation Act 9. The next one is called the uh, Dulakshani, are you here?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Okay. So the next act is called the Race Relation Act. Okay, the Race Relation Act 1976 was established by the Parliament of the United Kingdom to prevent discrimination on the grounds of race. So do you know what is race? Racial discrimination?
Race mean, I think caste something, no?
Yes. Now see, items that are covered include, okay, whatever that comes under race are on the grounds of race, color, nationality, ethnic, and national origin. Just because of their color, just because he's dark or he's fair, you treat them differently. Just because he's from another country, he's not from your own country, you treat differently. Just because of their religion, you treat people differently. So picking a criteria, picking a point, and treating them differently based on that is called the Race Relation Act. Okay, so Race Relation Act is also bad. Okay, so that is discriminating based on their race is also not right when it comes to this employment. So for an example, I'm conducting an interview and I find the person who's attending the interview is a Maldivian. Okay, he's not a Sri Lankan, he's from another country. So if I treat him differently just because he's not a Sri Lankan, that falls under the Race Relations Act. Okay, so then if he feels that he is not being treated fairly just like everyone else, he can go and file a case against me under the Labor Tribunals Council. Is that clear to you all? Because of the color, okay, just because he's dark, so what happened before was, even now the American treats the black people differently, so that is all that will also fall under the race discrimination. Okay, just because you're from another religion, or you have a different color, you're from a different level of society, all this stuff. Okay, picking a criteria and treating you differently is bad. That is called the race relation discrimination. So I think Parimala has joined again. Parimala, are you there?
Yeah, miss,
What happened
my,
to you?
I don't know, miss, there's some problem in internet. I think the
Okay,
net is
connection.
not, yeah, miss, laptop, that's it. Can I leave, miss? I'll check record and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, okay,
very,
okay,
thank you,
fine.
miss. Bye.
Okay, bye. Right. So the the Act incorporates the early Race Relation Act 1965, the Race Relation Act 1968, and was later amended by the Race Relation Amendment Act 2000, notably including a statutory duty on public bodies to promote race equality and to demonstrate that procedures to prevent race discrimination are effective. So basically, this is about Race Relation Act. They say how it has developed. Okay, so basically, it started in 1965. In 1965 only, they started to build a legislation around this race. Okay, so people treating differently against some criteria picked is wrong. Okay, so 1965 it started, and then in 1968 they amended means they changed it. Okay, they modified it. Oh, and then in 1976 again, and then you have the 2000 act also. These laws also can, they can update the laws. Okay, so basically the years that they put is the year finally they have updated the law. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, who is Sharon? Who is Sharon? Is it the small boy that joined the lectures that day also?
மிஸ் ஷரோன்ன்றது நான் நினைக்கிறேன் அந்த ஈக்கித்துலையாகும் நான் சொல்லிடுறேன்.
Okay, fine.
ஓகே மிஸ்.
Okay, right. Can I start copying this?
Yes, miss.
So was the first two acts clear to you all, Dulakshan and Prashant?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Okay, if you have any doubts, please make sure you'll ask it. Have you started working on your assignments?
Uh, Not yet, miss. I just started the OB, but
Okay,
problem is I mistakenly I dropped the water in the keyboard.
okay, fine, fine.
Yes.
So please make sure you'll start it, because I think we'll have only another class for HRM, and from there onwards I'll stop it most probably. So better
Okay.
start and get your doubts cleared.
Um, I think I started on the Sunday only. I was getting start because I finished the BDM and OB is the last stage. The
Okay,
problem is the keyboard is not working.
okay, 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 fine.
Okay.
Mm. Once you are done, let me know.
Finish, miss.
Okay. What about Dulakshani?
No, miss.
Sorry?
No, miss.
Okay, fine.
Okay, miss.
Okay. So the next act is the Equal Pay Act. Okay, so the next law that we're going to study for the day is the Equal Pay Act. 1970 was an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom that prohibited any less favorable treatment between men and women in terms of pay and conditions of employment. The act was proposed by the Labour government and was based on Equal Pay Act 1963 of the United States. So according to the Equal Pay Acts, what it says is that no matter of the gender or no matter of what happens, the pay has to be equal if it is for a particular job. Okay, if A and B has the same skill, same experience, same education level, everything is same and they are working for the same post, you can't discriminate their pay just because he's a girl or a boy. So when you have to pay for an employee, you have to pay them equally, right? So that was called the Equal Pay Act 1970. Okay, when you pay, you have to pay them equally, right? So the next one is called the Disability Discrimination Act 2005, which completed the implementation of the Disabilities Rights Task Force recommendations, including the extension of DDA 1995 to cover public transport and the introduction of a duty on public authorities to promote equality for disabled people. So do you all know who are disabled people? Are we disabled?
What did you ask, miss?
Do you know what is disabled?
I will mean we can't do that. That's me.
Disabled means we are not fully able to function. So for
Okay.
example, we are all fully able. Okay, disabled means maybe there's a problem with their leg, they can't walk, they can't talk, they can't see. Those people are called disabled people. Okay, so what this disability discrimination said was, no matter if he can't walk or anything like that, you can't discriminate him when it comes to work. You have to provide him, if you know that he has the same qualities, qualification, and if you think that he is good for the organization, just because he's disabled, you can't let him go. Okay, so if he's suitable for that job, no matter if he's disabled, you have to take him. Clear? So that's what this Disability Discrimination Act 2005 says. Okay, it also, DDA is a short form of Disability Discrimination Act. Okay, so and also what this says is that we have to cover public transport in our organization. We have to make sure that we have all the arrangements to cater the disabled people. For an example, washrooms. Do you think that they can use the same washrooms as the normal people? No. Okay, so the washrooms for them are specialized, and also the transport, they can't travel like us. The transport mediums they can travel are different from ours. So the organization needs to make sure that they have all the facilities to cater the disabled people in their organization. Okay, right. That is called the Disability Discrimination Act. Is that clear?
Yes, miss, clear.
Okay, so the next one is called the Employment Act. The Employment Act seeks to encourage more individual employment disputes to be settled within the workplace without without recourse to an employment tribunal. It introduced statutory minimum internal disciplinary and grievance procedure for all organizations that employ staff and mission to promote their use. So the Employment Act, what it says is that if there's a problem in the organization, if you feel that if you are not being treated properly, rather than taking all the problems to the Labor Tribunal Council, we'll try to solve it within the organization, because it can be going to the Labor Tribunal Council is not an easy job. Okay, it is difficult for both the employer and the employee. So what they're saying is, according to this Employment Act, they're saying, let us try to solve the problems that we have between the employer and the employee within the organization itself. So if you can't solve like that, maybe the next step will move to the employment tribunals. But as much as possible, we'll try to solve. So to solve these problems within the organization, they had the disciplinary council, grievance handling procedures, and all these stuffs available. Grievance handling procedures means to handle problems. Okay, grievance means what? Sorrow, sadness. So if you have any problems, you can go to this grievance counseling, grievance grievance handling procedure. They will counsel you. So problems can be solved when you talk to each other, when you tell what's there in your mind, it can be solved. So all this is done in the Employment Act, but the base of this Employment Act is that they're trying to solve the problems as much as possible within the organization without taking them to Labor Tribunals Council. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Can you copy this?
Miss, screen விளங்க
Yes.
மாட்டேங்குது. Screen
Now?
screen விளங்கல miss.
Okay, fine. Give me a minute. Now?
Okay miss.
Finish.
Okay. What about Dulakshani? What about Dulakshani? Right. So we'll start. Okay. So the next act is the National Minimum Wage Act 1998. Okay. Create a minimum wage across the United Kingdom. From 1st April 2019, this was 8.21 pounds for people aged 25 and over 7.70 pounds for 21 to 24 years old, 6.115 pounds for 18 to 20 years old, 4.35 pounds for people under 18, and 3.9 pounds for apprentices. Okay, so according to this National Minimum Wage Act, what they say is that each one of them has a minimum amount, okay, minimum salary for a person that has to be paid. So the companies or the person who is employing you, the employer should always pay you the minimum wage or above it. So when they pay, for an example, now you all are 18 to 20 years old, so if you all are working in UK, so you all get 6.15 dollars. Okay, so we'll say that I'm planning to pay you $14. So is that okay? No, I am doing it against the law. I have to, the minimum that I should pay you is 6.15. If I pay you 4.10, so it is not right. So in that case, you all can go and file a case against me under the Labor Tribunals Council, right? So there is a minimum salary set for everybody. So the organization should always meet the minimum standards, or it has to be always above it. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so the last act we're going to study is the Data Protection Act 1998. Was a United Kingdom Act of Parliament designed to protect personal data stored on computers or in an organized paper filing system. The act defined 8 data protection principles to ensure the information was processed lawfully. Okay, so under this Data Protection Act, what it says is that there is data in an organization. Okay, data, so all the organization have important information. So what happens is it is important for the employers or the organization to protect that data. So for an example, I am the employer and you people are working in my company, so it is my duty to protect the data that I have. So for an example, let's say Prashant is working in my company and is going to join my competitor. So what is or if not, he's going to he has access to my data, so he can steal, he can rob my data and give it to my competitors. So all these are threatful for the company. So what happens is this Data Protection Act protects the information within the company. So for an example, there are 8 principles how this is done. So basically the Data Protection Act, what it does is it protects the information within the company. It will make the information stay within the company, is that clear? You all can't share the company information to outsiders. That is called the Data Protection Act. Is that clear? If you share, and if I found out that Prashantan has shared all the valuable information of my company with my competitors, I can take actions regarding that. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay, Dulakshani, what's happening at your end? Is
The
the connection
internet
okay?
problem is. So
Sorry?
internet problem is.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So can I copy this?
Okay. Finish, miss.
Okay. What about Dulakshani?
Finish, miss.
Okay, so Labor Tribunal Council. Okay, it is responsible for hearing claims from people who think someone, such as an employer or potential employer, has treated them unlawfully. So what happens is in Labor Tribunal Council, they hear about claims. Claims are what? Problems or like anything that has to be spoken of. Okay, so like they hear it from mostly the employees, so they go and complain. Okay, if they are treated not properly, they are treated unlawfully by the employer, so they will go and make a complaint in this labor tribunal councils. Okay, example of unlawful treatment claims that we may hear include in a labor tribunal councils. The most common problems that we might hear in a labor tribunal council is unfair dismissal, discrimination, unfair reductions from pay. So these are three of the most complaints that the labor tribunal council gets from the employees, claiming that the employers have not treated the employees properly in terms of dismissing them, discriminating them, maybe because of their sex, race, or disability, or whatever it is, and also unfair deductions from pay, and they are not being paid properly. So these can be the problems. So unfair dismissal we're going to study now. Is that clear? So basically this labor tribunal council is there to make sure to protect the employees and the employers from anything unlawful. Is that clear? Is that clear, Prashant,
Yes, miss.
Dulakshani?
Yes,
Yes,
miss.
clear,
Okay,
miss.
okay, fine. So now we'll move to I think we wrote about resignation, yes or no?
Yes.
What is resignation? Resignation is a process by which an employee gives notice of his or her intention to terminate the employment. So resignation is always from who? The employee. Okay, if the employee, excuse me, give me a minute. Okay, right. So resignation is always from whose side? The employee side. Okay, so it is from the employee side. If he thinks that he can't continue his job, what he does is he will give a notice to the employee, to the organization, or to the employer, and tell him that he's going to leave the firm. So that is called resignation. The resignation will always come from the hands of the employee. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Okay,
miss, clear.
okay. I think we did handling resignation also. Yes. Okay. Can you copy this resignation policies? Copy and let me know once you are done.
Finish.
Okay. What about Dulakshani?
Okay, Miss, finish.
Okay. Resignation policies need to decide how long a person should stay even after informing the termination. So how is that decided? Termination means, leaving, getting terminated means getting leaving the organization. Okay. Need to decide how long a person should stay even after informing that he is going to leave. How is that decided? I think I explained to you all last week. Prashant?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, sir. So tell me. So it is basically in your confirmation letter or your appointment letter, they will clearly mention, okay? So if you're planning to leave the firm, if you're planning to resign, you have to inform the organization before 3 months or 6 months or a month. So there'll be a clause, okay? There will be definitely a sentence saying like how long you have to stay in the organization even after you plan to leave the firm. You can't leave the firm just like that. You can't give the letter today and leave the organization tomorrow. No, you can't do that. Why? Because somebody has to come to your place. Okay, somebody has to fill your position, so you have to train the employee. So before you leave the organization, you have to train that employee and then only leave. Is that clear? So for that it will take some time. So that is why you have that period for you to stay even after you give away the letter, the termination letter or the resignation letter. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Hmm.
Yes, Miss, clear.
This notice period should be mentioned in the appointment letter or the contract agreement. So this notice period, where can you find this? It will be there in your appointment or your contract letter. When you join the firm itself, they will, they will tell you this is the time that you should let me know if you're planning to leave the company. Is that clear? And also need to consider future threats when this person joins with competitors. So in case we'll say Prashant is leaving my firm and leaving my competitor, I had to be careful because Prashant can convey all the company information to the competitors. So I had to be careful about all the threats that I might get when you leave my company. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Dulakshani, clear? Okay, can I copy this? Who is this Galaxy J8?
Miss
Finish,
Dulakshan.
miss.
Okay, right. So are we done?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Activities involve the resignation of an employee. So even if you want to resign, there are few steps that you will have to do. You can't just resign just like that. So whatever you do in an organization, there's a process that you have to follow. Just like that, for this resignation also, there's a set of procedure that you have to follow. The first one is employee officially inform his resignation to the immediate boss. So once we'll say Prashant is planning to leave the company, so from he has to officially send me a letter. Okay, officially, just not like telling me, not not informing me when we're having lunch breaks or anything like that. He has to officially send me a letter saying that I'm planning to resign. So this is the day that I will resign. So he has to send me an official confirmation that he's resigning. To who? The immediate boss. Immediate boss means the immediate supervisor, the person who he is reporting to. Is that clear? So once that is done, once official confirmation from the employee is done, so what happens is the immediate boss and the HR department communicate information. So I will go and tell the HR department that that employee from my team is leaving to the HR department. Is that clear? So the employee will tell me, I will go and tell the HR department, and then they will see how to manage this. Now since he's leaving, what are we going to do about his resignation? Okay, immediate boss will have a designation with the employee to make the employee stay with the organization. So after the HR and the employer discuss, the employer will go and talk to the employee. Okay, so the employer will talk the employee, asking him to stay in the organization. He will ask, what is your problem? If salary is your problem, okay, fine, we'll fix it. If you have any other problems, if he can, he'll try to fix the problem and to keep the employee within the organization, because retaining an employee in an organization is very important, because losing an employee is very costly for an organization. So the immediate boss will discuss with the employee if he is important to the organization to stay with the organization. He will do everything possible to make sure that he stays within the organization. And then what happens is the fourth step. If the bob is unsuccessful, arrange an exit interview. So now I'm talking to the employee, but still the employee is not convinced. The employee wants to leave the firm. Okay, I'm trying to find out the problem. He's like, I have no problem, I have to leave. So if he wants to leave, then whatever I did in step 3 was unsuccessful. So if he wants to leave, then finally, okay, fine, he will leave. He will then, when he leaves, we'll carry out an exit interview. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Dulakshani?
Yes, Miss, clear.
Okay, so these 4 will be done. And then we have 5, 6, 7. Can you copy this?
Miss, excuse me.
Yes.
Miss, 3 and 4, please repeat, please.
3 and 4?
3 and 1.
Explain.
Repeat,
Okay. So what happens is, in step 2, what happens is the employer. So step 1, the employee will come and tell the employer that he is going to leave the organization. And then step 2, what happens is the employer will go and tell it to the HR department. Okay, so he will pass that information to the HR department, and they will discuss what to do. Okay, since the person is leaving, how are we going to manage it? So in step 3, what will happen is the employer will come back to the employee. After talking to the HR department, the employer will come back to the employee, and he will try to do everything to keep the employee, because he will try to find out his problem. Maybe the employee has actually a problem. Maybe he's not happy with his salary, or maybe there's some issue in the organization. So the employer will try to find out what that problem is and try to solve that problem and try to keep the employee within the organization, because letting go of an employee for an organization is really, really costly. So he will try his maximum to keep the employee within the organization. In step 4, no matter what you do, the employee still wants to leave the firm. So in that case, can you keep the employee against his wish? He wants to go, but you can't keep. If he wants to go, he will go. Okay, so you can't stop him and ask him to stay. So you'll try to convince him, but he doesn't stay. If he doesn't stay, what will happen is you will allow him to go by arranging an exit interview. What is an exit interview? Exit interview is the last interview that will happen when an employee leaves the firm. Just like the interview that we have when you select the employee, we have an exit interview also. When the employees leave the firm, there is an interview where we try to get information from that employee regarding the organization. It's like a feedback the employee will give before he leaves the organization. Is that clear?
Okay, miss. Thank you, miss.
No problem. So 5, 6, 7. Can I write it?
Finish, miss.
Okay. Lakshani, are you done?
Okay, miss. Finished.
Right. So step 5, what happens is a period of notice to cut for the employee to leave should be set out in the contract of employment. If there's a practical difficulty in accepting that, can go for negotiations. So what happens is, once employee plans to leave the organization, what happens is we have to talk about how long he's going to stay in the organization for them to train someone to that post. So the period of notice required for the employee to leave should be set up in the contract. So in the contract letter, there'll be a notice period time. So what happens is, we'll say the employee can't stay for 3 months, or it is difficult for him to stay for 3 months because he has to leave the country. He's planning to migrate. He's planning to fly to another country. So in that case, he can't stay for 1 month. So what happens is, in that case, what will happen is the employer and the employee will negotiate. Negotiate means talk to each other and come to a final agreement. Okay, fine, since you have a very important thing to do, okay, the employer will feel from the employee side and will be like, okay, fine, if you want to leave like that, they will try to somehow solve the problem. Okay, so they will try to understand both parties, and sometimes they'll try to solve. So sometimes what happens is, usually the notice period is 1 month. No, so we'll say his process, whatever the work he was doing, is very very difficult, so we can't train an employee within a month. So what happens is, sometimes the employee will extend his notice period, so he will make his notice period 2 months. So what happens is, the employer here, what happens is, the employer and the employee will talk, how long should I stay in the organization to keep you all, for how long is it important for me. Hi miss, I am back. Who is this Galaxy J7?
Me, miss.
Parimala.
Yes, miss.
Did you solve your connection issue?
Yes, miss.
Right, good. So we're discussing about resignation. So try to pick it on from here. Okay, so what happens is, the employee and the employer will try to talk and come to a conclusion how long the employee should stay in the organization for him to train another employee. Is that clear?
Yeah, Miss, clear.
Okay. Step 6, details of departure needs to be communicated with the HR, finance and security officers. The employee will have to complete appropriate paperwork and other procedures. So once the employee is planning to leave the firm, so I was knowing I am your immediate boss, so I know. So then I have to pass this information to the HR people, to the finance department, for the security officers. Why? Because HR management then only will take another employee for that particular post. So I had to communicate to the HR department, finance department. Why? Because they are the people who are giving you salary. They are responsible for your salary. They'll put your monthly salary. So when you are in case leaving, they have to finally finish all your financial stuff, no, all the money pending stuff, all the salary payments, everything has to be completed. So I have to inform the finance department also. Security officers, why? Because organizations will give you that IDs and passwords, usernames, all this stuff. So when you leave the organization, what happens is we will take all the access that you have. Okay, because what will happen is, if you have it, sometimes you can misuse it. Okay, if you're not an employee anymore, you don't need that card. So if you don't have that card, you can't come into that organization. So I have to inform the security officer that Prashant won't be coming from work from May 5th. So if Prashant comes to work on May 6th, the security officers won't let him inside the organization because he's no more an employee. Is that clear? So I have to tell all the important parties that you are leaving the firm. Okay, employees will also have full paperwork. Okay, there's a lot of like, when you have to join the company also, they have a lot of paperwork that you had to do. Okay, like signing off a letter, filling application forms and things like that. So when you leave the organization also, there'll be a lot of paperwork to do. You'll have to do a lot. You have to write a lot on papers. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So then step 7 is that the department heads needs to prepare a complete form or leaving report, issue a service letter to the employee and finalize communication with external parties and etc. So what happens is, finally once everything is done, you will get an appointment letter when you join the firm. Just like that, when you leave the firm, you will get a service letter. So basically this service letter is very, very important. Just like, from a school, you all will get a character certificate and leaving certificate, something like that. So the leaving certificate is important because it will tell you that it will tell about you. So when you join another school, if they will read the leaving certificate only, take you. If the leaving certificate tells bad about you, the other school that you're applying for wouldn't take you. Just like that, the service letter in an organization is very, very important, because the new company that is planning to hire you will look at your service letter and then only take. So service letter is like a proof that you have worked in an organization. So service letter is very, very, very important to an employee. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss, clear.
Parimala?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, if you have any doubts, please do ask me. Okay, so we are talking about the steps the employee should have to follow when he is planning to leave the organization. Is that clear? So these are
Hmm.
usually steps that the employee should follow when he's resigning when he's resigning. Okay,
Okay, Miss.
right. So now we're going to study about dismissing. Okay, dismissing is where the organization will put the employee outside the firm. So this resignation is where the employee will leave the firm, where dismissing is where the employer will chase the employee away from the organization. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
So dismissing and resignation are two different stuff. Resignation is where the employee is leaving the firm, and dismissing is the employer is asking the employee to leave the organization. Is that clear, Parimala?
Yes, Miss.
So there are two people, employee and the employer. Okay, employee is a person who will work under. Employer is a person who the employee will work for. In case you and me, I am the employer and you're the employee. So in that case, so if Parimala leaves the organization in her own, that is called resignation. If I put Parimala out of my organization, it is called dismissal. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Can I copy this down?
wrongful dismissal.
Finish.
Okay, what about the girls?
No,
Tulaksha?
Done.
Okay,
Done.
right.
Yes.
okay.
Okay, what about Parimala?
Done, miss.
Okay, so wrongful dismissal. Under this dismissal, there are few types. Okay, so dismissing has a few different types under this. So the first type is called the wrongful dismissal, and then we have the unfair dismissal. Okay, so first of all, we'll see what is wrongful dismissal. This is relevant to the employee common law. Okay, it is related to the employee common law. Wrongful dismissal is a contractual right. It is a contractual right. So the employer has the right to dismiss an employee. That is called wrongful dismissal. Is that clear? Employer terminates the employment contract opposing to the terms contained in it. Example, failing to give the correct notice. So employer terminates the employment contract opposing to the terms contained in it. Example, failing to give the correct notice. 1 month to 2 years of employment, 1 week's notice. 2 years to 12 years of employment, 1 week for each year work. 12-year plus for employment, 12-week notice. Compensated only the amount lost by the employee. Employee need to prove that they were dismissed in the breach of contract and they suffered a lot. So what happens is here the employer is dismissing the employee with a wrong notice period. So for an example, we'll say an organization, if you're working from 1 month to 2 years of employment, you should be given 1 week notice period. Is that clear? So the employee should be informed 1 week prior that he is getting dismissed. Okay, so if you're working in an organization from 2 years to 12 years, 1 week for each year work. So for how many years? If 2 years, how many weeks? For a year, how many weeks? If it is 2 years, 1 week for each year work period means if you're working for 2 years, you all be given 2 weeks notice period. If you're working for 5 years, you all be given a 5 week notice period. So for each year, you all will get 1 year, 1 week notice period. Is that clear? So 12 years or plus of employment, I have to give you 12 weeks notice. So basically what they say is, if I'm planning to dismiss you all, I have to think about all this stuff. I have to see how many years you have worked in my firm. So if it is for like you all are working in my organization for 13 years, so how many weeks notice period should I give you all? Tell me.
3 months.
That is 12 weeks. Is that clear? If you all are working for 6 years, how many weeks notice period should I give you all? Dulakshan and Parimala? If you are working for 3 years in my organization, how many week notice period should I give you all? For every year, if you are working for 1 year, I have to give you all 1 week notice period. If you are working for 2 years, I have to give you all 2 week notice period. If you all are working for 3 years, then I have to give you all how many?
3. 3.
3 week notice period. So within these 3 weeks, I'm asking you all to find a new job. So in case you all have been working for 3 years, I'm coming and telling Parimala, okay, from tomorrow onwards, you don't come to work. Is that okay?
No.
No. So that is called wrongful dismissal. Compensate only to the amount lost by the employee. So in this case, you all can go and file a case against the employer under this tribunal counsel. If the employer is found to be guilty, or if the employer is wrong, so you all will get an amount from the employer. The amount you will get is to the amount lost by the employee. So we'll say how much the employee only until the amount that the employee has lost will be paid during this period. Okay, employees needs to prove that they were dismissed in breach of contract and they suffered a lot. So the employee, to make sure that he get this amount from the employer, he needs to tell the council that he has not been that the contract says something else and the employer didn't follow the contract, and during this time he didn't get a job. So if I ask you all to leave the firm today, and can you all find a new job? No. So you all, how, if you are the only person looking after your home, who will provide food for your home, who will provide money for your home? Nobody. So all those amount will be compensated by the employer once you win the case. Is that clear? So you have to prove that you suffered a lot, your family was in hunger, you didn't get a job. You have to prove the contract says 2 weeks notice period, but he only told me 1 day before the job. You have to prove all this stuff and only then you will get the amount from the employer. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Dulakshani and Prashant, any doubts? If it is confusing, please do ask me now.
No, miss.
Prashant, what about you?
Yeah, clear, miss.
Right. So the second one is called the unfair dismissal. What is unfair dismissal? Unfair dismissal is a legal right given to employees within 1 year service, a right to complain to a tribunal counsel that they have not been treated fairly or reasonably by the employer. Circumstances should represent fair grounds for dismissal, and tribunal must decide whether dismissal is fair. So what happens is, this is only applied for people who have worked for a year in an organization. Okay, so below 1 year you can't do this. Okay, so we'll say you have an experience of 1 year, you have the legal right to go and complain to the tribunal council to say that you are not being treated fairly or you are being discriminated by your employer. Okay, when you file that case, you should have all the evidence. Okay, so if you have all the evidence, so then accordingly the court will decide what has to be done. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss. Clear.
You should be working in that organization for a year. If you're working in that organization for 6 months, can you do this? No. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss. Clear.
Yes, miss.
Dismissal is unfair. Selection is dismissal. Selection for dismissal is unfair, opposing to the requirement the Employment Rights Act. Refusing to join with the trade unions. Just because you refuse to join with a trade union, if they dismiss you, that is called unfair dismissal. Is that clear? So just because you didn't do what the organization asked you to do, that can they resign you? Can they dismiss you? Can they dismiss you?
No.
No. So if they do that to you, you can go and complain a case against this tribunal council saying that, see, I didn't do that, so they dismissed me, which is unfair. So please look into this. Okay. Pregnancy, maternity, or parental leave. Just because you're pregnant, can they dismiss you? Just because you are pregnant and you have a baby, you asked for a 3 months leave, maternity leave, can they dismiss you? You can't. They can't do that. If they do that, that is called unfair dismissal. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, Miss. Clear.
Prashant?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, miss.
If you are not clear, please do ask me. Okay. Dismissing unfairly, dismissing without a proper reason is called dismissal is unfair. Okay. Unfair transferring. Now we'll say, now we are living in Colombo. Okay. So everything is in Colombo. Just because I don't want you in my organization, what I do is I put you to this Jaffna branch. Is that okay?
No.
That is not even necessary for me. If it is necessary for me to transfer you to Jaffna branch, that is okay. But purposefully, I want to make sure that you leave the organization. So for that, if I put you in Jaffna, will you go to Jaffna and work?
No.
No. So then what will you do is you will leave the firm. So if you feel that the employer is doing to make sure that you leave the firm, and that's why he's transferring you to Jaffna, you can go and file a case under this tribunal's counsel. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Refusing to give up right under the working time regulations, refusal to work on Sundays. Okay, now usually do you have to work on Sundays?
No.
No, but the organization is asking you to work on Sundays and you're saying no. Just because you said no, they're dismissing you. Is that fair?
No.
No. So if it is like that, you can go and file a case against this labor tribunals. That is against the law. They are asking you to also to go against the law, but since you're not doing it, they're dismissing you, which is not correct. So they're dismissing you, which is not okay. Is that okay? Seeking to apply rights under the National Minimum Wage Act. They're not paying you the minimum wage. So in that case also, you can go and file a case against the labor tribunal councils. Bringing proceeding against the employer for breaking certain statutory employment rights. So you're standing up against your employer. So your employer has done something bad and you are saying it is wrong. So just because you said it was wrong to your employer, your employer is dismissing you. Is that okay?
No.
For example, I am doing something wrong and you're saying, Miss, you're doing it wrong. Just because you said it was wrong, I am throwing you out of my class. Is that correct? No.
No.
If the same thing the employer does also, you can go and file the case against the employer. Is that clear?
Yes.
Next is discrimination, sexual, race, religious beliefs, or disability. So what happens is, I am discriminating you just because you're a girl. Okay, just because you're from another religion, just because you're black, I am discriminating you. So I'm discriminating you and I'm saying, okay, I don't work with black people, so I'm dismissing you in my organization. Is that clear? So can I do that?
No.
Can I do that? No. So if I do something like that, that is called unfair dismissal. So you all can go to Labor Tribunal Council and file a case. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Right. Can you copy this?
Yes, sure, Miss. Unfair.
Everybody can see the screen, right? You all can see the screen, right, everybody?
Yes, can see.
You all can see the presentation slide, right?
Yes, Miss.
Once all right, let me know. Okay, are we done?
Okay, Miss, done.
Okay, unfair dismissal covered under the Employment Rights Act. So there's another legal act called the Employment Rights Act. Under this Employment Rights Act, it talks about unfair dismissal. Okay, there are few things under this act. You know, it says, okay, if you do this stuff, it is called unfair dismissal. So you can go and complain a case under the Labor Tribunal Council. So you can see, okay, if they dismiss you, and you can go to this particular legislation and see if the organization or the employer has done this to you. If it is based on that, you can also go and file a case against this Labor Tribunal Council. Is that clear? Employee currently has the right not to be unfairly dismissed with the following conditions. So when you have these stuffs, they can't dismiss you just like that under the normal retiring age applicable to his or her job. So before the age, okay, before your retiring age, if they dismiss you, it is unfair. Okay, if they tell you to retire before your retiring age, it is unfair. You can go and file a case against the Labor Tribunal Council. Okay, continuously employs more than 12 months. If you are working for an organization for a year, for 1 year or more than that, they can't dismiss you just like that. So if they dismiss you, if you have been working for a year for more than a year, they can't dismiss you just like that. Lodge a claim with tribunal office within 3 months of the dismiss. So if you are planning to make a complaint about your dismissal, it has to be within 3 months. Okay, so after the incident, after your dismissal, just quickly, as soon as possible, you have to go and file a case under this tribunal council. If you go and file a case after 6 months, will they take the case? No, it has to be within 3 months of your dismissal, because it has to be hot. After everything is done, if you come and say no, they have dismissed after a year, if you come and say before a year my company dismissed me like this, so please look into that matter, they won't look into it. So it has to be quick. So the minimum time period is within 3 months. Is that clear to you all, everybody?
Yes, Miss.
Are you clear with unfair dismissal and wrongful dismissal?
Yes.
Okay, so shall we move to the assignment now?
Yes,
Yes.
Miss.
Right. Can you all see the assignment?
Yeah, Miss.
Can you all see the page?
Yeah, Miss.
Right. Under that, look at task 2. No, look at task. Yeah, look at task 2.3. Task 2, in that, look at task 2.3. Compare human resource recruitment process in two different organizations, which comes on a knowledge based and human effort based. So here what you have to do is you have to take two organizations. One is based on human knowledge based and the other one is based on human effort. Human knowledge means they use the brains and work. For an example, uh, KPOs. Okay, select organizations like KPOs. Okay, Google and see KPO organization, you'll get a list of organizations. Okay, so it has to be one of that. Who is Sangavi? Who is Sangavi?
Sangavi is our staff.
Sorry? Okay, fine.
Sangavi is our staff.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, maybe she wrongly signed on.
Right. So what happens is that you have to select two organization. One comes under this knowledge base. Knowledge base means you have to go for KPO. So Google and see KPO organizations. You'll get a lot of organizations. So out of that, you select one organization. Select that. Okay. Then human effort base means it will be usually machine people who it it is manufacturing companies like garments and things like that where they use humans a lot. Okay, so manufacturing, Nestle, all those stuff where they produce products using human effort. So one organization should be using human effort, the other organization using human knowledge. Okay, so manufacturing one and the other one is KPOs. Is that clear to you all?
Yeah, miss.
So you have to select two organizations from these two industries and compare their recruitment and selection process. How recruitment selection is happening in a KPO and how recruitment selection is happening in a manufacturing industry. Is that clear? You all know
Okay.
how recruitment and selection happens. So you have to see how are they recruiting, what are the medias that they are using, what are the steps they are doing. Here, what are the steps they're doing? What are the steps they're missing? What are the mediums they are doing? Are they going for internal recruitment, so external selection methods? So things like that. You have to compare organization A and organization B. Is that clear to you all?
Yes, miss.
Clear? So you have to choose two organization. One is knowledge based organization and the one is human effort based organization. Human effort based mostly will be a manufacturing organization and knowledge based organization will be basically a KPO. Can I quickly write it down? If not, you're going to forget. Okay, so once you do that, discuss on selection strategies using above two organizations and provide justification on why the selection techniques are effective on those organizations. Once you study the recruitment process of these two organizations, what you have to do is then you have to study about the selection strategy, how the organizations are selecting the employees, how organization A is selecting the employees and how organization B is selecting the employees. You have to study that. Clear? So what application forms, tests, things like that. You have to see what are they doing and you have to say how successful they are. Are they successful? If it is yes, you have to tell me how successful they are and why it is successful for that particular organization. Is that clear?
Yes.
Can you all do it? So you have to choose two organization. Clear?
Yeah, miss.
Okay. So then you all can do task 1 fully, you all can do task 2 fully, and then you all can do task 3 also fully. Okay. And then in task 4, look at task 4.3. Explain laws that are governing human resource management in your country. This is exactly what we did today. You have to talk about the laws. Okay, you have to explain the your country means it doesn't necessarily have to be Sri Lanka, since it's a UK based program. You can do UK stuff. So all that we have studied today, right? So you have to discuss about all the legal acts that that is applicable to an organization, just like the Sex Discrimination Act, Race Relation Act, Equality Pay Act, this other discrimination act. You have to explain about each of these acts. Is that clear to you all?
Yeah, miss. Miss, do you have to explain lot like not
If you
only
want,
the answer that you are asking?
yes, you have to. If you want a better marks, you have to always do extra. No,
Okay.
okay. So there's a lot to write for y'all. So please make sure you'll start working on it. Okay, although it looks easy and simple, there's a lot for y'all to write.
Yeah, miss.
Okay.
Yeah, miss. Okay.
So then, according to two different organizations selected in task, research and present your findings and exit procedures available for their employees and evaluate level of effectiveness to these procedures. So we know the exit method that happens. No, we know step by step how it happens. So in the two organizations that you are selected, you have to see how is the exit interview in organization A and how is the exit process in organization B, and then you have to compare both this organization and you have to write. Some organization might have an exit there are few steps. Okay, there are 7 to 8 steps. So out of these 8 steps, do you think the organization will follow all the 8 steps? No. So there are few steps the organization will follow, and there are few steps the organization wouldn't follow. So what you have to do is you have to research on what they do, what the organizations actually do, and you have to write it on your assignment. Is that clear?
Yeah, miss.
Clear? Prashant?
Yes, miss.
Dulakshani?
Yes, miss, clear.
Right. So that is for now, and we only have task 4.2. Once that is done, you will be able to do the assignment fully. Clear? I have discussed all the questions except for 4.2. So we'll discuss it next class and we'll see how it works. Is that clear?
Miss, another one is there that in personal management and what is it?
Which one? Tell me the question.
There was not question.
Tell me task 1.1 or what it is.
Personal manager and human resource manager and
I
discuss
explain
its
it to you all
ethical
next.
development and changing context in which they operate.
Personal management, human resource management having similarities. Is that the one? There are only 4 tasks. Which one I talking about? Task 1 or task 2 or task 3 or task 4?
Task 1, miss.
Task 1, the first question.
Yeah.
So what did you do last class, Parimala? Were you not there?
I am there. No, miss. I'm.
Okay, I'll explain to you again. Okay, so you all know what is personal management, human resource management is. So what they're asking here is that personal management, human resource management are having several similarities, but more than that, there are a lot of differences. Distinguish between personal management and human resources management. So what you have to do here is, first of all, you have to explain what is personal management is, and then you have to explain what is human resource management is. So you know that both have similarities as well as differences. Yes or no?
Yes.
There are similarities because human resource management was based on personal management. So from personal management only human resource management was established. So there can be similarities, but there are also differences. So what you have to do is, first of all, explain what personal management is and what human resource management is. Explain its importance if it is possible, and then what you have to do is you have to tell about their similarities and then the differences among personal management and human resource management. Tell what is similar to personal management, human resource management. After that, you have to tell what are the differences between personal management and human resource management. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, miss, clear.
Parimala? Parimala?
The voice is getting.
Did you hear me? Parimala, did you hear me? Parimala? Okay, the other two, you all heard me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So if Parimala asks or comes again, I think we'll explain it to her. So other than that, was today's lectures clear to you all?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
miss,
so
clear.
what we studied in whole is we studied about the laws. Okay, so when you do a recruitment selection in organization, there are few laws that you have to follow. Okay, so we looked into all those laws. Few of those laws are Sex Discrimination Act, Race Relation Act, Equal Pay Act, Disability Discrimination. Those are few of the laws. And also then we discuss about dismissal. This resignation is where the employee leaves the organization, and dismissal is where the employer terminates the employees, where the employer fires the employees. So under this dismissal, we found out what is wrongfully dismissal and unfair dismissal. Wrongfully dismissal means they're not giving the right notice period for y'all. Okay, so in case if you are working for a year, they had to give you 1 week notice period. So for 1 year, 1 week. So for 2 years, it is 2 weeks. So if it is more than 12 years, they had to give you I think 12-week notice period of time. So, it has to be considered when they are planning to dismiss you. And the second one is called the unfair dismissal, where there are certain things, okay, when they say that you are dismissed based on your color, or you're dismissed based because you didn't join, because you didn't do what I asked you to do. So those are unfair. So if you feel that they are dismissing you unfairly, you can go and file a case under this tribunal council in less than 3 months. So if it is more than 3 months, your case will not be heard by the council. Is that clear to you all? Is that clear, Prashant and Dulakshani?
Yes, Miss, clear.
Right. I don't know what's wrong with Parimala. Parimala. Parimala is gone. So we'll explain the questions to her next class. So please come back to me with all your doubts next class as well. Is that clear?
Okay.